All right, hey everybody, Gina Mizell is here, Danny Moran is here from the Oregonian and OregonLive.com. We are coming at you following Oregon State's 19-14 loss to Utah on a rainy, winter, fall, windy day. We got dumped on coming back from the press box where stat sheets are wet. It was a weird day. And it was a weird game for Oregon State. This was a game that the Beavers trailed 12-0 at halftime. You kind of thought that would be an insurmountable lead, given how much the offense was struggling, but made a game with it in the second half and actually had a chance to win it on a final possession. So just what do you make of this game and of this team right now?
The big storyline I think coming out of it is injuries.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously the result on the field was a close loss, probably closer than would have been expected, given how, as you mentioned, poorly, particularly the passing game was in the first half. I mean, one completion, I forget what the total number of passes were in that half, but I think at one point it ended up being 1 for 16.
Yeah.
That Daryl Garrettson was before on his last drive, before he got hurt, established some rhythm. But Garrettson obviously went out with he had a boot on his left foot, unclear exactly what the injury was. Connor Blount replaced him on a fumble later in the game. He injured what appeared to be his left leg, and so it was Marcus McMarion.
Who would have thought?
And given that Ryan Nall had a carry in the on the second drive of the game that went 32 yards, but he came out. Gary Anderson said after the game, not going to talk about injuries, but basically indicated that Nall was done after that.
He said if he's not playing, it's because he's injured. So.
Right. So. Tim Cook was out there because Artavis Pierce had a stinger on that last drive that Oregon State led. So they were down to their third-string quarterback, third-string running back. And obviously we'll kind of see going forward just how serious those injuries are. Yeah,
if you would have told me that Marcus McMarion, Tim Cook, and Hunter Jarman would sort of propel the touchdown drive that got it to within 19-14 with basically a couple minutes left to play, I would have said, okay, so
right.
that really epitomizes what this team went through. But you look at Utah, which also was coming off of had a ton of injuries. Joe Williams, their running back, they pulled him out of retirement this week, and he went for 34 carries for 179 yards and a touchdown. He had that was their first score in the first quarter, and so the defense obviously gave up some rushing yards in the first half, but then really locked down in the second half. The only touchdown they gave up was because of Connor Blount's fumble, and so they got that drive started inside the 10-yard line. So that was a huge performance again by the Oregon State defense.
Pretty similar to what we saw against Boise State a couple weeks ago. The only difference being that Oregon State was actually able to hold Utah out of the end zone a couple times. They were down 31-7 against Boise before holding them without a first down in the third quarter. This week they got a little bit of luck too. There was one point where Utah had a 4th and 1 from the 5-yard line. Troy Williams, the quarterback, fumbled the snap, and Utah came away with no points. But obviously not long after that, Gary Anderson talked about special teams too being an issue.
Said a debacle. Was the word that he used.
Garrett Owens missed 2 field goals. One from 51. That's a tough one to make. One was a chip shot though from 27 yards. Although Gary Anderson said it was the snap that was the issue. That was kind of who he attributed that to. And then obviously in the first quarter it became 9-0 when Ryan Navarro snapped the ball well over Nick Porepski's head. It went out of the end zone for a safety, and that ended up being a pretty big play.
Yeah, I mean, he said that if you lose 2 out of the 3 phases of the game, which in this case would have been special teams and offense, that you're not going to beat many people, and certainly not going to beat Washington next week when the Beavers travel to Seattle to face the Huskies, who by far and away are the best team in the Pac-12, at least to this point. So again, with everything happening with this team right now, just how do they go into this week where they're going to face a top 5 opponent?
It's going to be tough, and Washington's had a week off to prepare. They obviously look far and away like the best team in the Pac-12 at this point, doing well both offensively and defensively. It'll be a challenge, but I think obviously the way Oregon State played in the second half was encouraging, just from that perspective. But we'll have to see kind of who is remaining on this roster, particularly on offense, because even with the starters in for a good amount of the game, they really couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, well, Gary Anderson said, of course, that he liked the team's fight. He liked the way they hung in there, and obviously, like we said, had a chance to win it legitimately in the final minutes of regulation. But we will have all of our post-game coverage coming up on OregonLive.com and, of course, in the Oregonian tomorrow morning. And so keep it right here. For Danny Moran, I'm Gina Mizell. Again, final score, Oregon State falls to Utah 19-14, and we will catch you next time.